All right, great. I want to welcome everyone today to the Vortex Energy Podcast, and I am so pleased to introduce you to Eva Vennari. I met her just a few days ago, actually, at a special conference in San Diego, and it turns out I didn't actually get a chance to talk to her much, but we had a whole lot of things in common. And Eva Marie wants to talk today about how diagnosed infertile is not a life sentence. And I know there's a whole big story around this, and for so many women and men, this is a very, very emotional issue. And you've gone deep down the rabbit hole on this. But first, I want to introduce you, and then we'll dive into a lot of questions. I know our audience has lots of questions about this. So Eva Marie teaches worldwide how to navigate complementary medicine. She coaches chronically fatigued overachievers, especially those struggling with infertility and post-cancer treatment. Together, we rebuild the immune system and take charge of their own health care. She's the founder and CEO of the Elevate Institute, a cutting-edge health coaching firm specializing in mineral balancing. She is the creator of Reveal, a hair analysis technique that lets you understand what exactly your body needs to heal and rejuvenate. She's the co-founder of Illumination Tours, high-end educational retreat experiences bringing ancient wisdom to today's lifestyle. So yeah, really, we really do have a lot in common, and I'm really thrilled to be able to get to know you better and for our audience to get to know you better, Eva. So I know I've heard a bit of your story about why this concept of diagnosed infertile is an issue. And if let's just dive deep right into that. What's your story? How did this whole thing come about?
Well, I shared this at the podcast.
Yeah.
It was awesome. The story is 22. I was told I was infertile, and that my only choice was to remain unfertile, or I could take a medication. So I had some conversations around that were very disturbing, and I wonder how much has changed over the years between doctor and patient about that conversation. But I think I have an inkling that it's still pretty similar. Not a whole lot has changed.
Yeah. So tell us. Let's bring us right to the end of the story. Was there a happy ending? A difficult ending? How do you relate to this story now?
Oh, I had to come full circle. So at the time, I was one of those overachieving, driven individuals, and I wanted my kid. I was like, well, I can't have a kid. When you told you can't have a child, now you want it more. And I became driven. Well, let me see what my options are. And I had my first child at the age of 23, and then my second child at the age of 24. And then I'm like, okay, I'm done. So one and then the other, they're Irish twins. But, it wasn't the end of the story there. My health continued to decline. So I had depression that I suffered with all through adolescence, and it went unnoticed and undiagnosed. I just thought everybody was a little bit morose. That was my life. My vision through my filter was always a little bit dark. And by the time I moved out of my parents' house and was married, I had already gone through a series of autoimmune issues. I was diagnosed with, remember Epstein-Barr? That was a big virus that was out at the time, about 25 years ago, Epstein-Barr.
Yeah.
And I was told, oh, you've got autoimmune disorder. And later that turned into IBS, and I had a lifelong history with itchy skin. And I'm not talking about the occasional scratch. I mean, I would wake up with blood and skin under my nails because I was scratching myself, right? It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
but imagine,
it hurts,
living with that. So I don't have a family photo where I'm not scratching, an arm or a leg in a picture. So uncontrollable, itchy, crazy. And I ended up with skin problems. What's that called? When your skin starts to flake.
The psoriasis?
Psoriasis, yeah, and short-term memory loss, which I just experienced right then, was an issue. And by the time I was 28, I started going through perimenopause. By the time I was 30, I was told, you're going to be in a wheelchair in 5 years. You've got arthritis, osteoarthritis to boot. So I was a mess, and doctors were just very dismissive with me. And I would go to one specialist and another specialist, and I would ask them why, what's going on with me. Their response was, we don't know. And as my answer of we don't know was even more magnified with each repeat answer, we don't know, it made me dig deeper. I need to find something that is going to help me, because I'm getting to the point where I can't function. I've got 2 little girls at this time. They were very small. I divorced he was an abusive man, so I left him, and he eventually passed away. So I was not only raising kids by myself, but without support. So yeah. That's very stressful all by itself. And the doctors kept saying, well, it's because you're just getting a divorce. Well, it's because you just moved. Well, it's because you just and I went time out. We all have stressful times in our lives. That why is my body unable to deal with it the way that everybody else's seems to be? And I felt very different. And even though we're the only ones who lives in our bodies, we are the only ones who have that experience. But when it becomes to the point where this isn't okay, you got to take steps. And sometimes that means stepping outside of traditional medicine, and that's what I did. So it was mother and invention is always need, and that was my case for sure. So I say, yeah.
So how did you finally get through to the other side? What different things did you try? I imagine there is it dozens or hundreds or thousands of things you tried?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I bought every book. I know, every book on autoimmune toxicity, eat right for your blood type, the Candida diet, because that was a problem too. I didn't even mention that. But I had like 30 different symptoms and diagnoses. And what I did is I found myself blessed with insomnia at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I put a search string in Google of all of that. And I came across this really obscure article about mineral balancing, basically, that matched my idea. If you give your body what it needs, it'll heal itself. And I went, oh, yeah, that's exactly what I've been looking for. And as I'm reading away, and it's the middle of the night, right? And I'm just getting excited about this what would be to anybody else, a very dry article about this is what your life would be like if you had it was very depressing to read, but for me exciting, because I felt finally validated. I wasn't being brushed aside. Oh, it's all in your head. Oh, we don't know what's wrong with you. You probably just need a psychologist. I had a doctor turn his back on me and say, you just need psychological help.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, the medical profession, I wish I could say they've come a long way. Some of them have come a long way, but there are still a lot of that misconceptions about what impacts these illnesses have physiologically that change how our brain functions.
Yeah. Yeah, and while it's true, there are some feelings of unreality that come with mineral imbalancing, and yes, you can feel depressed, and yes, it can change your mood, absolutely. It's not all in your head. That was a false statement. It as we know, especially in today's world, we're not just allopathic, we're holistic in nature, and we know that the mind, the body, and the spirit are all one, and they all reflect each other in different ways. But you have resentment, for example, it holds into the body physically in a certain space. As the resentment doesn't get cleared, it becomes a solid problem for your pancreas. That's where resentment sits. That's just an example. But it's like, we don't give it its due. Some people do. Some people are starting to, but regular Western medicine is not caught up yet. So that's where I found that crossover, and I actually found a local practitioner to me, and I decided to wait until morning, and I called her up and I said, I'm your next client.
Can I ask you, was it integrative physician, or what was their title?
Nutritional counselor, and specifically the hair and the mineral analysis was her modality. Wow. And that's where I became certified. So within short order, within about 3-4 months, usually that's the cutoff mark. I could try something new, and then within 90 days, if the effects are permanent and sustainable. So they seemed to be permanent. I was feeling better, not worse, and they were sustainable. I didn't have to make any major changes in my life that weren't like, oh, duh, I learned that when I was in kindergarten. I can go back to getting 8 hours of sleep a night, you know? It's like stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But the most
No,
important part, yeah, was the minerals. Anyways, go ahead.
no, I was just saying it's amazing how that overall body rebalancing is really part of what helps really boost the immune system. It's not just one thing, it's a whole slew of good things we know we should be doing, and for whatever reason someone gets off track in one zone and it can throw everything else off track,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah, I say that we get older and we think we're no longer at subject to, you know, the basic rules of life that grandma taught us years ago.
It's true. This is true. So how do you work with people? What's your formula?
It's really simple and straightforward. Everybody is individual, so I don't do group type presentations at all. Everything is one-on-one. And hair doesn't spoil in the mail. So guess what? I love to travel. And I wanted a business that I could do from anywhere. So this allows me to do that. I get to make a difference in people's lives, going to the regular medicine, and help them feel better for the first time in a long time, and probably feel better than they ever had before. That's what I keep hearing from people.
Yeah, no, that's great. We actually had to have the hair analysis done on our Clydesdale horse a few months ago because he was having some hoof issues. So it was the same type of process. They had to get the mineral balances right. He wasn't absorbing his minerals in the way it needed to be. We had to change up his feed and do stuff like that. But yeah, it's so incredibly important for humans as well to how to bring that holistic approach to the body through natural sources, the natural minerals that are available to us. Yeah.
I say no drugs, no trends, no fad diets ever. I promise that. And because if you learn the difference between them, you can cut out an awful lot of static in the world about who's, you know, advertising to you for their latest and greatest fruit from the Amazon jungle. It's like, just stop, do the basics. You'll be fine. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. So Eva, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Oh, best way, I have a website, and if some of the symptoms that you have, you're not sure if they mean you have an imbalance or not, I have an easy non-blood, you don't need to give me your firstborn, it's all for free on the website. Go to theelevateinstitute.com. And on the home page is a button. It says, yes, take me to it. You click on that button and it gives you a questionnaire, and it tells you with feedback right away, you might have some imbalances and what next steps might be for you.
Fantastic. So that link is going to be just down below here. So for all of you listening, whether it's on the podcast, you'll see it in the show notes, or whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, you'll see that as well. So what tips or advice do you have for people who are suffering, whether it's infertility or some of the other symptoms you mentioned, skin issues? What would be the first steps for them?
I'm biased, so I'm going to say get your hair tested. Get your hair tested. Find out. People say all the time, they're like, well, doesn't that just tell me what's lacking or where I have toxic metals? My first thought is, well, how is that not important information to know? And the second one is, yes, and it tells you so much more. So the hair test, it's comprehensive, and getting in there, it's more than a blood test. You can see what's going on with your thyroid, your adrenals, and gosh, those are the things that, you know, they are in charge of all of the endocrine system that, you know, tells a person whether or not they're fertile. And that's not just for women. When people hear infertility, they think women only, but men suffer this silently for for a long time. So and I didn't realize this, 10% of men are unaffected when they take a little blue pill or a little yellow pill. Didn't know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've helped
either.
That's a new stat that I heard recently. I went, wow, that's surprising to me. And a lot of guys are taking on extra testosterone and don't need to do that. That is the same, bioidentical hormones. So if you're taking them, the first thing to do is work with your doctor to get off of them, because bioidentical hormones are just like taking your car that's out of gas, getting behind it and pushing it where you want to go. What we want to do is take your car to the gas station and fill it up. And that's what the minerals do. So get your hair tested, get on a personalized program, and watch your body just go to work. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, no, that's really incredible. That's a great story. I didn't realize that could have that kind of impact for the men as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And so do you specifically, when you're looking at these nutritional programs, is the infertility sector a big sector for you? Is that a big part of you do?
Well, it's become a major focus because I would say the vast majority of my test results, when I get them back from the lab, they're imbalanced and toxic in copper specifically. So when I talk about infertility, I say specifically women who are IUD damaged.
I was just going to say that would be
Yep, that's the copper link. Or like me, I didn't have an IUD, but I was copper toxic. And I revealed that also in the talk, is that we get imbalances that are passed to us from mother to child in the womb that has nothing to do with genetics.
Okay, and so that was specifically copper that you believe came from your mother in the womb?
Not just copper. Yeah, not just copper. If I were to get out the test result, and I don't have it in front of me, but I can show you what a sample one looks like. Like this is what. Oh, there it is. That's a sample.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
You've just gone blank. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well, whatever.
That's not going to work, but that's all right. Yeah.
We'll try it another time. So the idea is the test result is a graph. Okay, so it's a visual. So my first test was at one point in time. My mother, 36 years older than I, did her test shortly after I got her on the program. She had lifelong allergy problems, had to be on Synthroid, was told she was infertile at one point, same similar story. Her test, her first one, looked just like my first one. And then with my two girls as teenagers at the time, their first two tests look identical to mine as well.
Wow.
So it's not just the copper, it's all of the relationships between all of the minerals and even other toxins that I don't test for on the result. They all get transferred to the child in the womb. So we're not perfect when we're born like we so hope to be. And then we spend our childhood overcoming those same imbalances in the same environment where they were created for our mother. So it's a constant, like, trying to overcome those imbalances your whole life. And that creates a lot of inflammation. And what this does, this process, is it takes away and all of those imbalances and rebuilds the body a whole new foundation. And that's the difference between just taking a medication. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know what? I heard you mention that during your talk, and I did not make that link that my own toxicity that I had, heavy metal toxicity and all kinds of health issues as well, 15 years ago. And I did all those exact same tests and was healed and feel, that was my journey to my healing and spiritual healing as well. But I did not make that link that I could have passed those toxins on. They could have been there when my children were born, or that they could have been there in my mother's body before I was born, so I didn't take that as personally as I think I need to take a look at that now. So that's really awesome. But
yeah. So a lot of people, they come to me for other reasons primarily at first, and then they realize, oh, I've been taking these bioidentical. I haven't been able to have sex with my wife in the last year, and it's ruining our relationship. They don't come to me for those things initially, but it comes out. It's a softer conversation. It's something that requires, a little bit more talking. It requires some. I'm not a therapist, but it does require some some therapy to walk through that, because there's a lot of pain. Like you said initially, it's a highly emotional subject, and I've been there, been through it, and I've watched people go from being very anxious, insecure, having difficulty within their relationship. Why me? What happened? How come I have this body? Questioning everything in a very unproductive way, into a relaxed, things are good, I'm dealing with things as they come, my body's doing what I think it should, I feel pretty good, and I feel good, I have energy. So to go from one extreme to the other, I get to watch that. And then eventually I get to watch them leave me and kind of forget about me.
Because they're doing so well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which that's the
Oh, it's like,
idea.
yeah, it is. It's like kids, when you watch them grow up, that is the joy, that they've grown up and they've moved out of the house. Where you'll see
Yes.
when that happens, it's part of the joy and the sadness that they're
Yes.
gone. But but anyway, are you ready to dive in, Eva, to some quick questions?
Sure. Let's go for it.
Great. So, what is the greatest spiritual lesson in all of this for you
Oh my gosh.
in your journey in the?
Well, what I didn't realize that this process would do for me would open up and magnify my already psychic abilities. So I learned that I have a natural tendency towards medical intuition, and I had no idea how strong it was. So as my body became more toxic free and more naturally aligned, these gifts started to become more available to me, and I use them with my clients. So remotely I can tap into what's going on with their chakra centers, their auric field, and it's very woo-woo, but I use it for information. It's all
So we
good.
have
It's
a
all
very
used.
woo-woo audience, so
Good.
you're in the right place.
Good.
This is what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And next question. So, what is consciousness?
Consciousness to me is being present and available for whatever needs to be experienced.
And what is your definition of God?
I do believe in God. It's not I'm a recovered Catholic, by the way. So it's not.
Me too. I understand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm not politically correct, so I'm just going to lay it out here. It's like he is not a he, not a he or a she, not an entity of any kind, just a force that is the breath of the beginning of life that was for us. That's kind of we came from.
Great. Okay.
Non-judgmental.
And where do you feel most at peace with yourself?
Oh, this took a while, but that space of believing the metaphysical messages that I receive. And I'm, like I said, a medical intuitive, so you have to be pretty confident when you're giving a recommendation based on what you see from another body. And so that from whether I'm using clairvoyance or clairaudience or clairsentient, any of those, I've had to come to real understanding. Even if somebody face to face to me was arguing, I'm like, that's real for me. I know it. So I'm at peace with my confidence in that ability to read. Yeah. That took a while.
Awesome. Yeah. And tell us a little bit about what your spiritual practice looks like on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, here comes one of them. So I have cats, and she's likely to walk across the front of the screen, but they're kind of I don't worship them, but I'm just saying that they kind of help me be present and grateful. So I have a gratitude journal. I'm a practicing initiate of the modern mystery schools through the lineage of King Solomon, which just means I'm a magician. I play with metaphysical magic, and it's about harnessing the energies that are unseen and using that to anchor light on the planet. And that requires ritual and consciousness and knowing who God is to you, all of that. It's funny that you asked those questions first. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So can you finish these sentences? You ready?
Sure.
The world needs
more love.
Awesome. I believe in
so many things. I believe in the future of mankind.
Awesome. Especially at this moment. That's very good. Love is
here. It's not out there, it's here.
Yeah. I would like to thank
everybody that I cursed.
That's very funny. I am ready to forgive.
Everybody I cursed, yeah.
That's a great lead in. That wasn't just happened that way. That was awesome. That's great. And last but not least, I want my legacy to be.
Oh, I'm living it. Yeah, it's the question everything. Be the one who's in charge of your healthcare, and that's the legacy I'm attempting to leave.
That's awesome. Eva, I really want to thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom and your knowledge today. And I highly encourage everyone to check out her website. The link is going to be just down below here. Do you want to tell us again how they can reach you, your website link?
Website is theelevateinstitute.com. Don't forget the ahead of the elevate. So it's THE elevateinstitute.com.
Fantastic. And this episode has been brought to you by David Adelson's Peace and Harmony program. You can get a free download to encourage peace and harmony in your own life. So I encourage you all to check that out as well. So peaceandharmonydownload.com. Thank you, Eva, and hope to catch you again soon.
Thanks for having me.